Start that. It's recording 21. I'll just put it there. So, if we can just start then by saying, you are all working. You've all done child news care training, have you?
Yes.
Yeah. So you've done either a diploma or the degree. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So who's done what? Can I just get a sense?
Okay, I've got a BTEC in Child and Youth Development.
Yeah, from DUT,
From
right?
DUT, yes.
Yeah.
I have a diploma in youth development from UNISA.
Okay. That's nice. That you need. I remember that course. It is a good course.
BTEC from DUT.
Right. Okay. So you all, so you both come from the UT and both come from that faculty and so on. So I can, no, that's great. So can I just ask by saying, first of all, what do you think are the key elements for you in your child and youth care work practice? What do you think is like really important? I know that you might be thinking, oh gosh, well, where do we start? I understand that. But we have to start somewhere. And I'm really just wanting to ask a question that's really just open about what is, because people don't understand the difference between child youth care work and social work. But there are key elements, I'm sure, that you find about what is your child and youth care work practice that a social worker wouldn't say is my social work practice. So,
I think for me, maybe the colleagues will add, other than maybe doing supervision, it has to do with plowing a seed to a child, seed in a sense that I will be able to transfer a skill and empower the child or a young person in a manner that even if I'm not there, he or she will be able to be on her own and to survive without me.
So stand alone.
Yeah, so it's more about empowering and so forth. And I'm saying it goes beyond supervision. So my interaction needs to make that kind of sense to a child, even if I'm not there.
yeah.
She knows or he knows what to do, when to do, and how to respond to different situations and so forth.
And what are the things that you do to make that happen? I mean, it sounds very easy to make, it sounds like easy to say that, but it's not easy to make that happen for children.
There are a lot of things that I can do. However, it also depends on the context, whether the context allow me to plow or to transfer that seed to that particular child. Because I've been exposed to your NGOs, your children's home, and I've been exposed to your state-owned or run institutions. So they kind of differ in terms of the way they operate in their institutions, because with the NGOs, a child gets to be exposed in all the aspects in terms of the child being hands-on and also learning from doing a skill.
Yes.
As opposed to your state-run institution, because in a state-run institution, most of the things get to be done for
them.
a child.
Yeah.
So, which also creates a bit of a conflicting end, because a child from the children's home who is hands-on would be able to be even hands-on after the institution, but the one that is in a government state-run institution, he or she will be forever depending on somebody else to guide and also support. And if I were to make the example with the NGOs, especially children's home, a child will normally go to school,
yes,
then come back in the afternoon. The routine is clear. Maybe they're cleaning the cottage or the house, whatever house that they are situated in. After that, there is your gardening, where the child is expected to maybe go to a garden for 30 minutes or so. And maybe after there's sports, which it can be soccer or whatever sports in code. Then after that, the child has to come back and prepare meals with a care worker. I remember the meals get to be prepared with the child, so that the child is also able to prepare or take care of herself or himself and the people that are around him or her. But with the government run institutions, those services get to be done for the child. Then the child having to do those services.
That's quite a big difference, eh? If you're looking at that, and that's very worrying about government institutions. Eh?
Because in the last end, we have a mandate to transfer skills to a child, because I think with government the approach is that the children should be not exposed to maybe your labor chores, if I may put it that way, or domestic chores, because they consider these children to be already vulnerable before they came to the institution.
Yes.
So maybe they take away those responsibilities away from the child, not knowing that they are not teaching a child anything, because should the child go back to the community which do not have the washing machine, the helper, so the child is expected to do those functions. But if the child has been in the institution for 5 years, the child has no idea even where to begin. Understand? So in a sense, we are not empowering and helping the child. We are just
babysitting for a long time. What do you people think? What are the kinds of things that we need to do as child and youth care workers? What are the things that you do as child and youth care workers that are important?
Child and youth care work, if I can view it in comparison with a social work, child and youth care work exposes child and youth care workers more in a life space of children comparing to social workers. In that case, when child and youth care workers are more exposed to a life space, whether in a children's home environment or a school setting environment, in any environment, but child and youth care workers are exposed mostly in a life space of I'm sorry to say
children.
learners, children. In that case, observations is a skill in child and youth care workers. So utilizing that opportunity to work with children, you observe so many things in children which actually help you to grow and to intervene in certain how can I put it, in certain situations where you've been observing to children.
Yes.
Whereas social workers wouldn't be having enough time to observe such. So you are there as a child and youth care worker. There is quite a lot of things you can grow a child about.
Okay, so you're saying that like observation, and in the broad sense of the word observation, not just looking at a child when they're in the office in front of you, is the difference.
It's the difference, because you can, observations, it doesn't mean that you have to engage individual session with the child. You can observe from distance. Maybe if I can make an example with the school settings, or you do observations during lunchtime, supervision after school, you can observe something there. Listen, there's this maybe a skill that I need to grow into that learner.
Yes.
You need to contribute towards the strengths, the progress, the empowering learners. So using those observations, I think that this unique of the child in youth care work element that
Right.
is working in our advantage and in learners and children's advantage
Yeah.
too,
Yeah.
because they can benefit
Okay.
much from that.
Great. Yeah, thank you. One of the other groups also mentioned that actually the power of observation in child and youth care work. So yeah. What do you
Yeah.
think?
Please repeat your question for me so that I can
Well,
articulate clearly.
well, you see, the question really is about what are the things that we do as child and youth care workers? What are the roles and the functions that you see as yourself as a child and youth care worker that that works, that makes child and youth care work child and youth care work?
I think one of the most important things is, I think child and youth care workers are people who restore some form of order in children's lives, especially the children that come into care.
Yeah.
Because many children who come into care are brought into care by different circumstances. It could be parents are abusive, sexually abused children. So
Sure.
as the next figure that is receiving the child in the institution, you are there to still remind the child that even after everything has happened, but there still needs to be order. So you are there enforcing routines, making sure that when you are not around, the child is able to know that in the morning when I wake up, I need to be able to brush my teeth. Because there's no parent that is there teaching them that I need to bath, I need to use soap, I need to learn how to wash intimate areas, all of those things. And also you are at a space where you are providing circles of care. You're not replacing the immediate garden, but you are providing therapeutic interventions and circles of care to children who are at their most vulnerable self. So for me, that is child and youth care work. As Ndaba said, apart from supervision, but it's restoring the order.
Yeah.
The order that is supposed to be in a family, in a normal
Yeah.
family
Okay.
structure.
Okay, this is interesting because you talked about 3 different aspects of child and youth care work, all of which are really, really important. If one talks about that issue of order, I mean, what do you think are the things that one does as a child and youth care worker? How do we explain to people what we do to make that happen?
And I think maybe if you were to explain child and youth care, because it's broad,
Yes.
but if you were to explain child and youth care to a non-child and youth care person or official or individual, you won't make sense unless you maybe use the approaches that we normally use in our daily work to connect the dots for the non-child and youth care worker to get a clear view or picture.
Yes.
Because if I maybe can size the circle of courage with the 4 components,
Yes.
I can easily say I use this model to assess the child and also check whether the child belongs somewhere. So I'll look at the belonging aspect of the child. I'll look at the mastery, what is the child good at, their sense of independency and generosity. So I'll unpack those 4 components in a sense that the person will get a clear view in terms of what is it that I do as a child and youth care worker to this particular child.
Yeah.
I bet you by the time I finish, then you will understand what is child and youth care.
Right.
And also take into cognizance your strength-based approach in whatever interaction that I do have with the child. Because in the last end, these approaches also guide us in our daily work. So there's whenever we engage with the child, there is a positive engagement, and the child stands to benefit from whatever that we engage on. With regard to the principles, the practice principles, which also we take into cognizance whenever we engage with the child, your participation, child-centered normalization, because those are the principles that also ensure that the child get to be practiced with the child. Because as my colleague said, these children come from different aspects or different angles of the country. So in the last end, my role is not to replace the absent parent that is not there, but is to empower and also give a child a sense of identity so that he or she will know who he is before he can even engage or embark on the vulnerabilities of this world.
And what you're talking about also is making sense of a child's life. When you're talking about how it is that you look at belonging, mastery, and so on, it's actually that assessment that makes sense of what's happening. Am I right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Also, Child in Care Week provides psychosocial support and intellectual support. That's why I've been saying the Child in Care Week key element is an observation. If I can make an example, at school where I'm working at, there was this learner who was coming late. On Monday, I was doing a morning supervision. She came late, okay. Second day, I didn't engage with her on the first day. She was 5 minutes late. Second day, 5 minutes late again. Okay, I then waited to see how teachers would approach this such matter. And then they called the learner and asked, they didn't necessarily ask, they say, you mustn't come late. So that's where my mind was open and said, but okay, I'm a child in care worker, my approach is totally different. As much as the learner is late, but my approach would be wanting to know what exactly made you to be late, instead of saying, don't come late on the following day.
Right.
If this learner is facing a challenge, maybe of a routine or something, how would she know what should she avoid in order to come early at school?
Yes.
Then I decided to engage with her. And then that's where I found out that she has a challenge at home where there is a second born and she's the first born.
Yes.
So she found out, she feels that she's not loved enough anymore.
Yeah.
All the attention is paid to this younger sister. And then I said, how does that make you feel? Then she mentioned that she feels like she's invisible. She's not noticed when she's at home. And then for the fact that it is affecting her academic performance at school, it means it requires my attention,
yes,
my intervention. I then asked Uti, as child in care workers, we're strength-based. We, as much as we want to help children, but we should enable them to help themselves, utilizing their skills they have.
Yeah.
So after seeing this child more often, then I realized she has writing skills. She likes to write. She has a diary and all. Diary is her friend, okay? I then asked, what does your mother likes to do? She likes reading, okay? Writing and reading combination. Okay, I wanted to be invisible in the matter, but enable her to help herself in the situation. I then asked her to write everything she feels she's been treated unfairly by her mother, according to the things that she has mentioned to me as a child in care worker.
Right.
Jot them down in a letter and then put it where your mother, which definitely she would see it. Okay, and then she did that. I gave her the task, I think it was Friday, so I gave her enough time to write that, and then maybe leave that letter on her mom's bedroom, maybe on Sunday. Then Monday she come and report. I never told her, do not report, do not ask her anything, even if you noticed that she has read that letter, but do not say anything. Wait for her to respond on that letter. Then Monday she came to report that she saw her mother reading the letter, but she didn't say anything. I said, okay, just wait. On Thursday around that week, mother responded afternoon. It was dark at night at home. I think maybe that's how mother preferred to talk with. Maybe she was too ashamed
Shy,
that my child has been noticing such and I didn't notice that I've been treating her unfairly. So she had a talk with her daughter saying she wasn't aware of her actions. As much as this younger one needs more attention, however, when it comes to needs like school uniform and all, she needs that. She needs that. There mustn't be like, I need to buy this one new shoe and all, whereas this one doesn't have a school uniform. Mother responded to all concerns of the child.
Right.
Friday she came and reported that mother responded. Since then, there's been a healthy communication between them.
Okay.
So all I was trying to say is, we as child and youth care workers, we observe skills. Our observation is the key. I believe our observation is the key. As much as you want to help a child, but use their skills that they have to help them. And we do not necessarily help them with our hands or with our whatever, but and they have, as much as they are facing challenges, but they have the ability to help themselves, regardless of whatever circumstances they've been facing in their life, but they do have the ability to help themselves. All we need to do is to acknowledge such strengths and skills, then enables them to approach their challenges.
If I'm right, what you did is you also tailored that response to your intervention to that particular child and that particular mother. You said, what do you like to do? And then you hear that the mother likes to read. And then, so you made it work for that child. It wouldn't necessarily work for another child. Am I right?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. We must take note of the uniqueness of an individual.
Yeah.
As you're saying, what worked for that learner might not work for another child.
Yeah.
The uniqueness, that's where the uniqueness comes.
Right.
Every human being is unique. You need to utilize their strengths and their skills by taking note of the uniqueness of an individual.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. It's a lovely story. Do you have anything to add on that?
I think as she's saying, she's explaining, like, I'm thinking of child and youth care work as means of connecting the dots for young people. Like, you're not physically, okay, you're physically in their life space, but you don't go around telling them this is, okay, I want to make an example. Let's just say we are both cooking and I'm showing you how to cook food. So chances are we'll be together in the kitchen and I'll show you now, this is how you prepare meat, or this is how you prepare. You don't do and let the child watch, but rather you let the child be at the forefront while you observe. And I think the key area here in observation comes in when you can now notice that he's actually good in this, but he's not so good in this, you know. So when you are constantly at the forefront, you know, not allowing or not giving children the opportunity to be themselves and to learn, it's like you are kind of depriving them of actually being at that stage where you can observe what they're good at. So chances are you might be teaching someone to cook and you find that they can really cook well, only if you take a step back and observe from afar. So for me, it's connecting the dots and finding ways, helping children navigate their own ways. That's what childcare is to me. And if I were to explain it, what actually do you do in childcare that helps you achieve all of these things, as your question asks, like, what is it that you do as a child and youth care worker? It's hard.
Yes,
it's quite hard because you're not replacing a primary caregiver, but you're also there to enforce that discipline, routines, and order in the child's life. So that is what childcare means to me. I don't have a fancy word that I can use to say.
That's
Like lifespan, we've exhausted. I think most of the time, like we work in therapeutic spaces where young people are vulnerable. We create circles of care and moments to help young people. I think there is those explanations will never make sense to someone who does not know what childcare is.
yeah, sure.
Say you walk in a room and you want to know what childcare is, and I say it's creating circles of care and therapeutic
that?
moments for young people to thrive in difficult situations.
Yeah.
What is that?
Yeah.
You know, in
Yeah.
layman's terms, it is assuming a responsibility where you allow the child to be themselves, despite whatever they've gone through, despite whatever turmoil they come from, but
Yeah.
restoring that normality in the child's life. That is child and youth care work for me.
Now, you've all trained, you've spent years training in this and learning the theory as well as the application of it. Do you see that training as being valuable to you in your work? Do you see that what you've learned can be applied, or do you think actually once you get into the work it's just like never mind what you learned, it's something different?
I think for me, partly yes and partly no, because maybe differ per context, in a sense that for me, I can easily say child and youth care, it's about empowering, it's about Ubuntu, because we're all African, so if you are an African, you know the spirit of Ubuntu. But with the current how am I put it? With the current changes in South Africa, even the spirit of Ubuntu is very hard to practice. Even your so-called departments, government departments, they are doing away with that spirit, because like you are seated here, you offered us water, you offered us tea and muffins. But this is what we are supposed to be teaching these young people. Should you get a stranger from your house or visiting your house, you need to show an element of care. You need to be polite. You need to be caring to the particular stranger and so forth. The least that you can offer in the house, just give it to the stranger, because you might not know whether he or she is under or not. Those are the basic of life. So child care is about teaching those basics. But the more we interact, those basics tend to be taken away, and we tend to focus more on the behavior. But child care goes beyond the behavior. Because if, let's say, the child bunks school, or it's difficult at home, or the parents are unable to control or to take care of that particular child, then the child gets to be referred elsewhere. Once he gets to be referred elsewhere, that's why we come in to intervene. But we focus more on the child, then we tend to neglect the family. But it's supposed to be a two-way thing. Because remember, we are preparing a child to go back home.
Yes.
But how then do we prepare part one? Then we do not invest the same energy on the part two, because these two should gel when they're together. So we tend to focus more on the child, then the child go back home. Then when things do not add up or they do not gel, then there's a problem again. Once there are problems, then there's no one to solve the problem, because the care worker is no longer there to intervene or to guide the child. No, this is wrong, this is how you're supposed to speak to your mom, this is how you're supposed to do things and so forth.
So, but that guiding is important when you have the opportunity to do it.
Yes.
That's what you say.
And remember, and remember, even the parents, as parents, they do not know, like Ms. Musomi indicated earlier on, that their mom responded on Thursday, then she explained to the child I was not aware. So how many parents that are not aware of their engagement or interaction with their children, because maybe the way they interact or they engage, that triggers the child. You understand? But they won't be aware if they are not being made aware. So it's a two-way thing.
And it sounds, sorry, I'll come to you now, but it just sounds like what you're saying is so important in that many of the parents that we work with are not aware, actually. And that the child and youth care workers' role is almost to make them aware of,
Setting.
of almost the emotional needs of the children, it feels like. Eh?
Because we've been trained to exercise or execute our observation skills, and once we observe, we know how to respond without having to make the challenge even bigger. Because should the child get to be emotionally, we know how to interact with the child, especially if it's an opposite gender. You don't just hug and whatnot. You get to be taught those interaction maybe at school or whenever you get a chance. You also get to implement them, because should a girl child gets emotionally, as a male, you must know how to interact with that girl child.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
Hence, even a theory will teach you that it is always better to ask from the child before you can even maybe offer that. How can I can see you are not feeling well, can I hug you?
Yeah.
Then she give consent, then it's only when.
Yeah.
But if she doesn't, then you're also going to understand.
Yeah.
But a parents can just interact or intervene without having to pay close attention to those small elements.
Right. Yeah.
That's why I so wish there was a certain program, if I may put it that way, of making parents aware of certain behaviors or emotions displayed by their children. And I somehow feel that this profession word itself, child and youth care work, there is this hidden part. We do not work with children in isolation of their parents. Mostly when we work with children, there are parents involved, and in most cases that have been intervening into, it's somehow parents aren't aware of some certain behaviors or emotions or certain behaviors displayed by the young people to their parents for a cry out to say, can you pay attention on this aspect? So I believe parents out there really need some help, because as we work with children, yes, but somehow we do engage with parents.
Yeah.
As long as it's in the best interest of the child, that is when we engage with parents to make sure that all the children's needs are being met.
Right.
Only to find that parents were not aware of certain things, but by you becoming involved, that is when they become aware. So that's why I somehow feel this child and youth care work name or word profession, its limits. There is this hidden
what
part.
You're saying.
Yes. I feel it should be inclusive of family. I don't know how, but holistically, not necessarily child only.
Interesting point. Yeah.
I think for me, whatever I've learned in university has... Okay, I'll talk about the helping me part, like how it's helped me. Because I can relate better with kids, because now I understand the different dynamics and the different family constellations that they come from. And I can also understand the different behaviors and why children act out in different ways. So referring to theories, referring to your Erikson and your Sigmund Freud, you know that there are certain things you understand about a young person that you wouldn't necessarily blow up per se. For instance, I'll just quote an example. Let's just say we're working with two young people and they like maybe touching private parts, you know. One who is not observant would say, oh, maybe the child was being molested, or who has not observed long enough to know what's happening. But you as a child and youth care worker, you've got, you sort of like not you're not wearing blinkers. You will understand that developmentally at that age they are very active. They like touching, they like exploring, but also you would use your observation skills now to look for signs. Is the child being abused at home? Why is he acting out this way? So I think it helps a lot because you are able to observe from afar and intervene without blowing the situation out of proportion.
Right.
And also, I feel like the theories have made things so easy, and the knowledge that you gained while you're still studying for child care, it makes it so easy for you to try and articulate to children or have conversations with children. Because I remember this other time I cited, I even forgot, I think I did this in second year or third year, the phenomenological approach, putting yourself in a person's shoe. So we were explaining that to this one child who had stolen something from the other child. And this other child was angry and he wanted to hit him. And I said, but put yourself in his shoes. He lost something and he came and he asked you, did you take my stuff? And you said no. And then later he finds it in your locker. How are you expecting him to feel? Obviously he's angry. Obviously he wants to punch you. And obviously, he's not okay right now. So you're teaching the child to learn before they take any kind of action or before they react. They need to learn to put themselves in other people's shoes, that if it wouldn't sit right with me, it probably wouldn't sit right with the next person. So I think it's helped me in a lot.
Do you think there's anything lacking from your training? Do you think that did you get into work and then find, this should have been included or that should have been included?
I'd say the model that I'd say in my experience working as a child and youth care worker, from first year practicals up until now, I feel like the model that we were given at school was more focusing on what the Western countries were doing.
Yes.
Then tailor making it to fit the kind of children that we have.
Yes.
Tom Gafford, when he explains lengthily about childcare, like he will contextualize it to Canada, or to these other countries where child and youth care work is so beautiful. And we forget that we have street children, we have gangsters, we have child addicts, we have children who rape and kill other children. It's not as beautiful as it's painted in the books. So I feel like it's not good enough for our country. I think there are so many things that need to be tweaked in order for child and youth care work to work for us. That's why we are still in a bit of a pickle trying to explain what we do to people, because it is not our model. Okay, fine, now you have your NACCW designing your ECBD models and other models that are available out there that specifically focus on African children, like how you would intervene, in an African context. But I promise you, I think we are still going to struggle with actually trying to map out what we do here in South Africa in our profession as child and youth care workers, because in the first place it was not articulated right. I felt like the models came later. Then I feel like the models are supposed to be part of the syllabuses that are taught in school.
Right.
First year, you're supposed to be taught about your models that are there, like our models that work, like your ECBD models and your whatever models that works with an African child.
Right. That could have been included.
That could have been included.
Yeah.
So I feel like we are just being sold this perfect idea of what child and youth care work, as I've said, like creating therapeutic spaces for young people to flourish under whatnot. It doesn't make sense for someone who is not in childcare. It will never make sense up until you sit down and you explain, and they're going to ask you, are you a nanny? Are you a social worker? Are you a teacher? No, I'm not a teacher. Then what are you? What do you do?
That's very interesting. Thank you. Thank you. I'm
and,
so enjoying this conversation.
Very.
All of you have just said such rich things. Yeah.
And that is where our motive of continuity with the childcare is actually questioned when we were in a field environment, comparing to the theory we've learned at universities. Our motive is what keeps us going. We are in a route, I always say I'm in a route of learning. As much as I hold this diploma in youth development, as long as I have this motive in childcare, I will be always in a route for learning and implement whatever I learned in
Right.
my field
Right.
of practice.
Yeah. And do you think that there are things that could be included in the syllabuses and so on that would help more?
Yeah,
You-
a lot.
you-
Definitely.
I think for me, like my colleague was saying earlier on, once we learn in the book, we we are learning about the normal child
Yeah.
who has the brokenness in terms of his or her circle of courage,
Yeah.
and we are amending the circle of courage
Yeah.
to be full again. You understand?
Right.
For the child to function as a normal child,
Yes.
and we expect the child to behave as such. But in the real world, we are working with children with conduct disorder,
Yeah.
with, and with psychiatric conditions. The book does not cover that. We are working with the defiant child who do not give in easily, and who are not candidates of therapy. And we are supposed to be working with those children on a day-to-day basis. So if they are not responding to therapy, because of their cognitive functioning, how then do we assist that particular child? You
So
understand?
what do you think needs to be included? What do you think that should be included?
I think that there should be models that talk to such, that will empower us as practitioners and students to respond positively whenever such a situation presents themselves.
Okay.
Because in the last end, as much as I went to school to study this child and youth care profession for 4 years, there come a point in my interaction with the child where I do not know what to do to assist the child. Not that I do not want to assist, but I do not know what to do because the child is not responding. So if the child is not responding to the programs, how then do we assist the child? Because in the last end, we cannot just give up. There must be a way in terms of how we can best assist the child, because in our institution we end up finding children who are just there for bed and breakfast. They do not respond to programs, and we tend to normalize that because it's norm for the child to not engage himself in programs because of whatever. It's normal for the child to not to respond in this manner but in the last end we are not assisting him. Then what are we doing to that particular child? So I think that the theory should expand to cover those elements as well.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Very interesting.
And I think also, just lastly, I think child and youth care centers or institutions maybe that take children who are vulnerable and in need of protection should function in such a way that when a child goes in for a certain problem that has been identified, the child is able to come out maybe rehabilitated from whatever problem or better than how better from when they came in. But instead you find that children are coming in the system and then they're exiting the system even worse, because as he said, it's the norm now that they will act like this. They won't want to go to school, they'll defy rules, they'll do ABC, and it gets to a point where we as child and care workers don't really know what to do. It's not that you don't want to assist the child, but you are literally stuck. You've applied your theory, you've applied whatever strategies you can think of, and there's just something that doesn't work. So at the end of the day, you find that the young person who was supposed to come into care and exit care as a normal child is now going back into the community as something totally different. Maybe the child was molested when he was in the institution. Maybe he started molesting other children as well, because maybe it could have been something that he learned amongst other kids. Child is now displaying issues of anger. Maybe it could it's due to what Simphiwe said. It's like we cannot work in isolation with the child, because sometimes when you work alone with the child often questions like, okay, my parents are never here, or my parents never come, you know, or I would love to spend more time with my parents, maybe on weekends. And you find that the child is slowly building up anger. By the time the child exits the system, he cannot fully live with the parents, because he still resents them. It's like, you guys took me and put me there for so long, but you actually didn't care about me. So I think there needs to be models that speak to both the family, like having a family-centered approach, both the family and the child, but also it should work in a sense that even when we disengage with the family, they know what to do.
Am I hearing you correctly that what you're saying is that also the training should deal with how to reach that very child that does resist all the programs? Is that's where we need to go?
Exactly.
As well?
There should be some sort of interventions that needs to be put in place to understand the special child now who doesn't want to cooperate. Because at the end of the day, they are there for these programs and they need to do these programs. What happens now if the child is defiant? We just leave it at that.
Because I think maybe with the programs, remember the child, once maybe the 4 levels of intervention as a child and youth care worker, it's your awareness where there's no problem. You're just creating the awareness. Then through those programs you observe a need. That's where early intervention needs to kick in. After early intervention, you have your statutory, where maybe you refer the child to a particular institution for further engagement or further intervention. Then after statutory, there should be a continuum of care after it is engagement from that particular organization. But with regard to the continuum of care and the statutory, where we need to intensify our intervention, that's where we, according to my observation, I feel we need to expand our models to ensure that those programs that the child gets to be referred to, they speak to the child and the family. Because should we have a child who do not respond to those programs, then what happens to the child? Nothing would happen. Then once the child turns 18, then the system kick the child out. There's no continuum of care, so meaning there's no care plan for that particular child. Then the child will go back to the community, being whatever, and he will forever internalize himself that I am a failure. I was once in the institution. I could not maybe change the ways I do things. But the problem is there were no models that speak to that particular child.
Right.
Can I say something?
We're going to need to say one last thing. This time goes by so quickly. It's already an hour. So thank you. Yes.
If I can put my opinion on the institutionalizing of children, it's the wrong thing there. It's the generalization. The programs tend to generalize all the children, forgetting that each individual is unique. Not all of them will respond positively to programs offered on the certain institution. For example, if I can make an example of a school in grade 10, all learners had to choose which stream are they taking. Why is that so? It's because not all of them will perform well on a certain stream, or in history, science, or technical, or whatever. They do take note of uniqueness of individuals. So can that be the same when comparing to the years?
It should be. In institutions it should be.
Because not all of them will respond positively.
No,
definitely we do know that.
Of course, yeah. People, thank you so much. This has been a fascinating conversation, and I would love to carry on.
Or maybe just to add, it's the institutionalization. I think according to theory, it taught us that it is a problem to a child, because the child will benefit, relapse, to a point that the child will even give up on him or herself. But with the institutions, it gets to be done differently, because you'll have 4 institutions. The child will get to be admitted primarily from this institution, stay 4 years, move to another institution, and will move to the 3rd institution and to the 4th. The 4th can be considered as a last resort to assist this particular child. But what we are failing to comprehend is that this child has been in the system for
Very
beyond
well.
10 years.
Mm.
But we will not consider it as a over-institutionalized because he's just been here for 2 weeks or so. But we are forgetting that this child comes from another institution. I think with the children that are in conflict with the law is even worse because
No, you make very
they
good
come
points.
with different names and whatnot. So
Yeah.
we can
And
even
number gangs and
admit
all of
the
these
child.
things, sodomy.
Sure.
So
That is
child
25.
is
Yeah.
actually
Okay.
So we are failing to keep track
Yeah.
of the children within the system.
Yeah.
So maybe if we can keep track and we'll know how to respond because most institutions they offer one of the same programs.
Yeah.
But if the programs are not responding to the child, we'll forever have the child in the
Yeah.
system.
People, thank you very much. I really, really appreciate your input. It's been fascinating and very interesting, and I've no doubt that there's lots here that needs to feed into this study. So I really deeply appreciate your willingness to come and do that. I hope nobody seemed to sort of push you into coming. I hope that you came willingly.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry that we started late, but really, thank you very much. I would like you just to sign consent that you did participate of your own will. And I think Noatanda has also got the letter that says what we were doing, but I explained it all to you.
So is it possible for because I was one of the people who made the recommendations after the Durban conference, that it would have been nice to have these kind of discussions where we discuss real issues which I think you also record that, real issues which we experience on day-to-day basis in South Africa, because hearing a presenter from Canada presenting a study in Canada, we have less interaction. I know it's an international, but maybe if as much as it's an international conference, they will also intensify it with more of the local based research where we can relate and also advise and also learn a thing or two.
Yeah. We need more local research. The only reason I'm doing this is just to say we need more local research. I feel like I have to put my money where my mouth is. I've got no time to do this.
Now a PhD in childcare.
So you can do a PhD in child and youth care, and DUT is going to be running their masters soon.
When?
So yeah, I think it's like as of next year. So that is I know that it's been I know that it's in process. So we really need more people to be studying, to be doing these kinds of researches and so on, because one of the reasons why we bring people from overseas, yes, because it's international, but also because they're the ones who are doing this kind of work. We are too busy doing the work to actually be thinking about the work in this kind of way, and that's really why
they've got all the time, because their children are not like our children. So it's so easy for them to articulate childcare into this beautiful thing, but for us it's quite different.
But I think that the point that you're making, but all of you, is quite right, and that's why I feel so strongly about it, that we've got to have local studies, we've got to have local research. So watch that space.
We there.
And you can't expect someone else to do it, you have to do it yourself. People, thank you very much. I really, really appreciate this.